Coming up, Marching for Their Lives, the show of support for anti-violence measures across the country, including right here in Bridgewater. The CERT class celebrates the graduation of its first high school class, and we'll also tell you ways that you can help out in the community. These stories and more coming up on the debut edition of the Bridgewater Review, which starts right now. March for Our Lives rallies drew out over 1 million people to protest gun violence on March 24th. Thank you for watching our March 30th edition of the program. I'm John Luck.
I'm Mary Evers. Many are hoping that the energy at these rallies and marches will bring about political action. Cody Baker covered the standout held in Bridgewater.
Protesters for both sides of the gun control debate gathered at the Bridgewater Commons on Saturday, March 24th for the national March for Our Lives movement. The pro-gun control side of the protest was organized by Bridgewater resident and professor of movement arts at BSU, Sam Baumgarten.
My goal here is to have our own community make a statement about the gun issues and show support for the students in Florida. So as opposed to going to Washington or Boston, I'd like to see the town where I live in make a statement, and that's why I was helping to organize this standout today.
Protesters fanned out across the Commons to join in on the wave of support that has risen in the recent weeks following the Parkland shooting in Florida on Valentine's Day earlier this year.
I understand the Second Amendment and people's interest in having a gun for personal protection or for hunting, but the fact that we have so much firepower in this country, which ultimately gets abused by someone who's not in good mental health, I'd like to see us, even if it's taking the step of one gun at a time, to reduce the amount of guns that we have out.
While people from a broad range of demographics came out to show support, the majority of protesters were students, which emphasized the amount of youth motivation and grassroots activism that has begun to spread across the country in the wake of mounting fatalities due to what many cite as easy access to firearms and a need for stronger gun control laws.
I think to know that there are people all around the country who are behind you, who would like to see our politicians, senators, representatives in Congress to start making changes in the gun laws at a national level so that we, as I said before, start reducing the guns that we have in our country.
Reporting for Bridgewater this week, I'm Cody Baker.
Thank you, Cody. We also received a statement from State Senator Mark Pacheco that said, "Our young people have created a movement to prevent gun violence, and they deserve to be listened to. School children shouldn't have to worry about active shooters or barricading doors after they enter their classrooms. The laws that we have on the books in Massachusetts should be a model for the rest of the country." Councilors discussed a purchase and sale agreement for the McElwain School at their March 27th meeting. This will sell the long vacant school to MPZ Development LLC and Capstone Communities Development for $1. The agreement does require the developer to expend more than $20 million to renovate the existing structure and to build a second structure on the same property, accommodating a total of 52 housing units. Town Manager Michael Dutton says the project process will still go through the zoning board and community preservation funding process. The town council asked the town manager about the $1 price tag, and council president Tim Fitzgibbons asked Mr. Dutton to explain the process more in depth for the public to understand easier.
It's not an uncommon thing. Their original proposal called for a $600,000 purchase and a higher contribution through CPC. So, I mean, I guess my preference would be I'd rather have them take less from CPC and allow us to do other town projects with that money, and in return, drop the price to $1 on the purchase of the property.
The easy soundbite to go for is that we're selling the McElwain School for $1. That's what you have to fight against in trying to move this project forward. And you need to be able to convince all the folks out here that it's a good deal. Tonight I haven't heard you be able to do that necessarily. We talked about the complexity of the financing, et cetera, et cetera. You got to come down with 3 to 5 bullet points of here's what's going on, and here's why it makes sense, and here's what the benefits are, and here's what we're getting out of the deal. If that doesn't happen, I'm just predicting for myself, I don't think that the town at large will buy into it. It's just a boondoggle for somebody.
The council sent the order to the Budget and Finance Committee. The Bridgewater Rainham School Committee met on March 28th to hear the district's input on the budget for FY19. BR Superintendent Derek Swenson in the preliminary budget presentation was looking to add 16.5 positions to the district, including 2 school psychologists and 2 school adjustment counselors or social workers, along with 8 new teachers. There were still the 2 school psychologists and adjustment counselors in the revised budget presentations. However, there were only 4 teachers that would be added to the budget, a budget the school committee had to be responsible in making.
Obviously, some difficult decisions needed to be made to get down from my original preliminary budget, mostly in the area, obviously, of staffing. My original budget had 16 and a half positions. Again, that's a needs-based budget. That's what I'm telling the committee at that point we would need for this district to work at an optimal rate. Obviously, we realize with staffing, that's one of the biggest cost drivers in our budget. So we have to kind of go back to the drawing board through our financial subcommittee meetings and come down and really start to prioritize what we truly need.
Bridgewater Town Councilor Bill Wood took to the microphone to let the council know that the town could fund less than the district was looking for. The district is asking for $28,849,487, and according to Councilor Wood, the town can only afford $27,583,132, a difference of $1,266,355. Councilor Wood focused on many issues. A couple of the big ones included transportation and the collective bargaining agreement with the educators.
There are large increases in non-classroom activities such as transportation. Yes, it's mandated to get a student from point A to point B, but it's not mandated to go with expensive transportation. In this budget, the transportation for this year alone, rises by $920,000. That's a lot of other services that can be granted. There are also substantial increases in CBAs, specifically the Education Association. As I said, I think the teachers do a great job. I fully support them. I think they're paid well. And I have an example. The 4th year, which is the first year of this current budget, is another 4.8% increase. So 5.5, 6.2, 4.8, followed by next year a 5.1 and a 5.9, a total of 30% increase over 6 years.
My folks actually took a 1.5% increase this year and not the 2. And yes, on the backside, it is going to be the 2.5. But knowing that, and knowing that on their side as well, that they were going to be running up against some difficult times this year, they agreed to that number. I will say this, the job of a teacher, the job of an administrator, a paraprofessional, secretaries, custodians, and anyone who's involved in schools has changed incredibly over the course of the last 10 years. And I am confident when I say everyone who's in those contracts or independent contracts in this district earn every nickel that they make.
The FY19 projected budget would be $72,310,428. About $47.6 million will come from Bridgewater and Rainham. If the budget is approved as is, Bridgewater would see an 8.44% increase. The Town Council will vote on their share of the FY19 budget on May 8th, and Rainham will vote on their share at a town meeting coming up on May 21st.
The family of Stan Dunn has filed a federal wrongful death suit. The lawsuits allege that 2 Essex County correctional officers ignored their son's need for emergency medical treatment. Dunn died of an opioid overdose while in the back of a transport van in 2016. According to records, Dunn ingested heroin earlier that day in an emergency room in Newburyport. The van was parked outside a Massachusetts Alcohol and Substance Abuse Center in Bridgewater for 3 hours because the facility was in lockdown. The corrections officers Patrick Barry and John Nguyen are the named defendants in the lawsuit.
A Bridgewater family is receiving national attention after their son's iPad was stolen inside of a Brockton bakery. 3-year-old Hunter Jerrier has a rare genetic condition called Rubinstein-Taybi syndrome and uses the iPad as a communicative device. Hunter went nearly 24 hours without his voice until he was presented with a new iPad by the staff at White's Bakery. The incident remains under investigation, but the family remains to be positive, telling Bridgewater Independent that they're happy that more people are now learning about Rubinstein-Taybi syndrome.
The CERT program has been instrumental in Bridgewater for years, assisting first responders during weather-related and community events.
And now students are getting involved. Cody Baker has the story.
On Thursday, March 8th, a collection of Bridgewater Raynham High School students gathered to receive their certifications from the Northeast Region's first ever Teen CERT program. CERT, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team, is an organization run by FEMA and the United States government that educates volunteers in disaster preparedness. The students were the first graduating class from this pilot program for the Northeast and received high praise from their superintendent, principal, teachers, town officials, as well as their CERT instructors. CERT operates extensively in the southern U.S. and Gulf Coast areas due to the large amount of extreme weather that region experiences. But the program has made its way north, and BR students took the initiative to volunteer for this new program starting in November of 2017. Students learned important skills such as CPR, the Heimlich maneuver, hazmat training, and how to correctly operate a fire extinguisher. Despite being new to the region, CERT is already having a positive impact on the New England area after a series of winter storms had left many without power. CERT operated an emergency shelter at the Williams Intermediate School for those who lost power in the Bridgewater area and provided food and shelter for many Bridgewater residents.
Schools around the region are now implementing substance abuse preventive screenings to help combat the opioid epidemic. Called SBIRT, which stands for Screening, Brief Intervention, and Referral to Treatment, this public health approach looks to deliver early intervention to anyone who uses alcohol or drugs in unhealthy ways. Brief, confidential interviews are held with students from 8th to 10th grade and a school nurse trained SBIRT. BR began using the program last year after Governor Charlie Baker signed the opioid bill into law. Parents can choose to have their student opt out of the program, and results are kept anonymously and reported to the Department of Public Health.
When we return, help BR students turn your trash into cash.
Plus, the crowning of a new Mr. BR and a prom proposal one audience member will never forget. Plenty more ahead. Stay with us.
Here's your check. Oh, you got it.
You know, since I got rid of my car, I really enjoy walking.
Okay. Got it. No.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh, you're home early. You live with your mom?
That'll set your game back a few years. Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Thirteen contestants strutted their stuff for the title of Mr. BR on March 16th. The annual competition highlights members of the senior class in funwear, swimwear, and talent.
And Chris Daly won the funwear portion of the competition, dressing up as Forrest Gump, even trying to earn some votes with a box of chocolates. I mean, what else would you as Forrest Gump? James Scott and Rob Wallace took home top prize for Best Talent with their performance from High School Musical, and Owen Donahue won the Formal Wear Award. One girl even left with a prom date. Let's take a look at some of the highlights, including your next Mr. BR.
Yes, I am a legend in my own mind, there's no question. I want to welcome you all here tonight. What should be yet another great night. Being passive aggressive to customers, messing up simple coffee orders, and sitting on his phone while you wait 19 minutes to be served. Why would you like to be this year's Mr. BR?
Fact, I'm the greatest paper salesman in Pennsylvania. Fact, I could easily dominate anyone in this auditorium.
this year's 2018 Mr. DR Johnny King.
Always a fun event for the BR students. Staying with the regional and how you can help BR students turn trash into cash. Chances are, if you've driven near the schools in town, you've noticed the white recycling bins, providing a convenient place to drop off those tight jeans, old sneakers, and that dress you wore once. We all know that recycling can benefit the environment, but these bins located throughout the school district are not just any old recycling bins. These bins were installed as part of the Bay State Textiles School Box program, which promotes recycling while generating revenue for school groups, such as the DECA, appropriately the high school group of students who are preparing to be entrepreneurs in marketing or business.
So we're lucky enough to partner with the Bay State Textile company here that helps us recycle. And through that we gain money for our competitions through our DECA chapter, and we help save the world a little bit.
The focus of the School Box program is to spread awareness to the problem of unwanted textiles, educate in acceptable items for textile recycling and reuse, while generating much-needed revenue for the school communities. There is no cost to the program, and Bay State Textiles handles all of the logistics of the program.
Anything you can wear, you can donate. The only thing we ask is that you don't bring mattresses or pieces of couches, and we do ask that if you do bring something that you tie the bag before you put it in.
The School Box program has become a win-win throughout the region and globally. Nearly 100% of the donated textiles are recycled and reused. 45% is clothing, 20% is fiber conversion, and 30% wiping cloths. Donation boxes are located at each school parking lot in the BR district, and schools receive financial credit for each item dropped off. You can find more info on the School Box program by logging into baystatetextiles.com, and you can find BR's DECA Club online by searching these handles. DECA also operates a school store located in the main floor of the high school across from the gym. Students at Bridgewater Middle School took to the stage for the annual BMS Open Mic Night. Middle school students performed for their families and friends. Let's take a look at a couple of the performances.
I'll be there to sing the day Superman got nothing on me. I'm only one call away. I'm just trying to destroy you. So I heard you are my sister's friend. You get along quite nicely.
And remember, we'd love to share news about your student or school on the program. You can reach us here at the studio at 508-697-1833 or on Facebook by searching BTV Access Corporation. Fast food containers, plastic bags, beer cans, and alcohol nips are only some of the items you may see lining the side of our roads here in town. This year, the Bridgewater Town Cleanup Crew and Noonan Waste Service are looking to fill up about 200 bags on May 5th. This is the third consecutive year this effort has been put together. Sarah Cashman of Noonan Waste Services said the goal of the event is to get 200 volunteers to help clean the town. Volunteers can meet at Music Alley for the start and the end of the cleanup. There will be a performance and refreshments will be served as well. Again, this cleanup is May 5th at 11 a.m. More information is available on the Facebook link at the bottom of your screen.
Big changes are coming to Massachusetts drivers. Kyle Cardozo is in the studio with that and what you need to know.
That's right, guys. Lines have been long, to say the least, since the RMV installed new software which makes the process of getting an ID more secure. So what does this mean for drivers? Those seeking to renew or get a new driver's license will need to bring several documents to the RMV. One that shows their social security number, another proving U.S. citizenship, such as a passport, or that shows lawful presence in the country, like an employment authorization card, Applicants will also need 2 documents proving Massachusetts residency, such as utility bills or bank statements. Drivers aren't required to obtain a real ID, but if they don't, their license will no longer be a valid form of identification for boarding a flight within the U.S. or entering a federal building after October 2020. Instead, they would need to use a passport. The state will issue non-real ID compliant licenses that will require drivers to show more documentation than previously needed. Drivers aren't required to obtain a real ID, but if they don't, their license will no longer be a valid form of identification for boarding a flight within the U.S. or entering a federal building after October 2020. Instead, they would need to use a passport. The state will also issue non-real ID compliant licenses that will require drivers to show more documentation than previously needed. The state is directing drivers to mass.gov/ID to learn more about license renewal requirements. For the Bridgewater Review, I'm Kyle Cardoza.
The month of March featured not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 nor'easters. Over 2 feet of snow fell here in town and knocked out power to the community for up to 4 days. This almost resembles the snow blitz that we saw in 2015.
That was a lot of snow. Who doesn't remember that, though? It has been a winter of ups and downs, and with the season just about coming to a close, hopefully, Jeff Fowler has a recap of this recent winter weather outbreak.
The winter of 2018 will go down as a normal to slightly above normal winter, temperature-wise, with slightly above normal snowfall, thanks to a major ocean storm in January, followed by 3 nor'easters in March and a 4th storm that was a near miss. Those March storms did save our winter if you were a snow lover. This winter also featured a white Christmas, a very rare occasion, even if most of the snow was melted by the time we open up those final gifts. There were a lot of potential factors that could have controlled our climate this season. The eventual winners were a blocking pattern that finally set up near Greenland, combined with a strong ridge off of the Pacific, which drove energetic systems across the country, reforming just south of New England, bombing out, and becoming nor'easters. The overall total number of snow days, 23, wasn't over-impressive, but when it did snow, Bridgewater was dumped on several times, piling up to just under 40 inches since New Year's. This is the second winter in a row and 3 out of 4 where we saw above average snowfall. If you are looking forward to warmer weather, you may be in luck. The Weather Service recently released their climatological forecast, which calls for above to well above normal temperatures for April straight through August. Precipitation is also expected to be on the high side.
Lower back pain impacts more than 500 million people, including people right here at BTV, and it's the leading cause of disability worldwide.
Don't know who you're talking about. And many are often receiving the wrong treatment. Scott Olson has more.
That's right, guys. However, a new study from the Cleveland Clinic says that many folks wouldn't have let lower back pain stop them in their tracks if they received the proper treatment.
It could happen to anybody. We have young adults who come in, we have middle-aged folks, and you have the elderly who come in also. It all depends on what activity they've done. A lot of times the sports injuries can lead to problems for the young adults or the weekend warriors. Sometimes the middle-aged folks will do a lot of gardening and travel.
Researchers looked at the leading causes of disability in adults worldwide over a 26-year period and found that lower back pain was among the top 5. The study showed that low back pain was often treated with prolonged periods of rest and expensive tests such as MRIs and X-rays. Dr. Thomas says that the problem with this course of action is that many times these very expensive tests do not provide any more benefit to the injured person and may actually harm them. He said that prolonged periods of rest led to deconditioning of the muscles, which then makes folks apprehensive to resume activity and can lead to more injuries. Also, he said, while X-rays and MRIs can show the anatomy of the back, they cannot tell a doctor what the source of the pain is. Dr. Thomas says that most lower back injuries do not need to be treated in the emergency department and will resolve on their own with a little bit of time and patience.
If they have an opportunity to take the anti-inflammatories, if there's no contraindication, they should do that. They should consider ice. They could also use heat. Some people prefer heat. Rest would be okay, but should not be very prolonged. Ideally, about 48 hours of rest would be okay. Most importantly, modifying your activities so that you do not have those recurrences.
Dr. Thomas says that those with a history of cancer, trauma, neurological problems, or over the age of 50 or under the age of 18 are at high risk for problems other than muscle strains in the back, so MRIs or X-rays may also be needed in these cases. Now, those who've had unexplained weight loss, a history of steroid use, or pain lasting more than 6 weeks should seek care right away. In other health news this week, a new study says that recent resurgences of mumps in the United States may be a result of the reduced effectiveness of the mumps vaccine over time. Dr. Camille Sabella is a pediatric infectious disease expert and says that mumps can be dangerous because it's so easy to spread.
When you have a vaccine that's 90% effective and it's a very contagious virus, so that when it's introduced into a community, if you have individuals who don't have protection against it, it really spreads very rapidly.
To combat the rise in mumps outbreaks, recently updated vaccine guidelines allow for a third dose of measles, mumps, rubella, or MMR vaccine in the event of a mumps outbreak. Mumps is a virus that causes fever, fatigue, chills, loss of appetite, and puffing in the cheeks. It's transmitted by small droplets in the air and also through close personal contact that can last anywhere from a few days to a week. Before the mumps vaccine, the disease was common and could cause complications such as permanent deafness in children. Dr. Sabella says that the mumps used to be considered a childhood virus, but now that more young children are vaccinated, doctors will typically see it in older children and young adults. While rare, it is possible to get mumps even after a person has been vaccinated. Dr. Sabella says that your best bet to protect against mumps is to make sure you've had 2 doses of the MMR vaccine, which protects against measles, mumps, and rubella. Like most viruses, it can be significant for healthy people, but especially for those with weakened immune systems. Because the MMR vaccine is a live virus, people with weakened immune systems often cannot receive it, which makes them more susceptible to getting mumps. That's why Dr. Sabella says it's crucial that healthy people get both doses of the MMR vaccine.
If you have not had 2 doses of MMR vaccine, it's never too late to get them. Certainly if you've only had 1, you certainly should get a second dose. And if you've not had any, then you should get 2.
Now, there is no treatment for the mumps, but it's important to call your doctor if you or a loved one suspect that you have contracted the virus. It's important to stay hydrated and get plenty of rest to allow the virus to run its course. For Bridgewater Review, I'm Scott Olson.
All right, Scott, thanks. Turning to today's tech, and we're going global. In South Korea, the government is starting a new initiative by shutting down computers at 8 p.m. on Friday nights to avoid the culture of working overtime. The Seoul Metropolitan Government will roll out the program over the next 3 months, as the next step will be shutting down computers a half hour earlier on the 2nd and 4th Fridays of April. The final phase takes place in May, as computers will be shut down at 7 p.m. every Friday night, and the Korean government will consider exemptions in special circumstances. Government workers in Korea reportedly work over 2,700 hours a year, compared to just about 1,700 hours the average public servant works in other developed countries. It's not the only government-sanctioned shutdown of electronics. South Korea has previously mandated shutdowns to prohibit Korean children from playing video games from midnight to 6 a.m.
2018 marks 30 years of BTV in town. In recognition of this milestone, we're opening the BTV vault and looking back at some of our stories making news over the decades.
And in honor of the April Fools, we're taking a look back to that time a certain someone or something took over the newscast.
I was told I wasn't professional enough to be here on the program. Ha! Can you believe I am not professional? April Fools, it's snowing out. It's terrible. Ah! Hey, I've seen you in my history books. I pledge allegiance. I love being on the council. No, I'm not an alien. I don't come and hurt people. I don't do anything rotten. I just... no, I'm just a monster. That's messed up. See? I belong here.
So in a rare instance, we actually have a guest here in studio, everybody's favorite blue character not associated with a Smurf or a Muppet. Of course, we are talking about Gunther. Hey Gunther, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me here, guys. I'm glad to see you have me back after about 11 years. I might as well do some Mystery Science Theater ripoff while I'm here. Maybe some people will actually watch this now that you have a real celebrity.
Maybe.
Is that any way to talk to us? I told you, if we were going to have a blue puppet, I wanted one with talent like Grover or Gonzo.
Okay, time out. I think we all got off on the wrong foot. See, Gunther is here because he took over the news a few years ago, you just saw that. Now he's here to tell us what he's done since then. Right, Gunther?
That is right.
Yeah, like visited unemployment offices.
Oh, hi, hey, for your information, I did get a job working for the Patriots. I even got to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Whoa, that's a big job right there.
Whoa.
Yeah, I even got to go on SpaceX. I also got some new pets for my fish tank inside a new house.
That's a nice looking house. Can you tell me how to get there? I've never actually seen that place. Can you tell me?
Are you kidding me? You know he's lying, right? I mean, didn't you see the street sign?
Gunther wouldn't lie, right?
No, I would not.
What was that?
No, that was a dog.
Why is there a dog?
Gunther's dog. He's been lying this whole time. He photoshopped himself into all of those photos.
Gunther wouldn't do that. We hosted the news together.
No. Well, maybe I would. I do have a job. Or I did. I did go on a trip. And I made a friend. He knew a little too much about trains, though, and kept saying choo-choo.
Yep, that's about right, Scott.
And I got a pet. And he keeps me on my feet.
That doesn't sound too bad.
Maybe except the train, though.
Well, yeah. True. How about this? You can help us do something cool. We're going to play some pranks for April Fool's Day. Do you want in?
Yes, I certainly do.
That was fun, don't you think so? We got to make some people mad.
Yeah, that was great.
What are you going to do now?
I don't know. I could do anything now. Since, I don't have a job, now I could even run for president.
I think we have some acting awards that are going to be coming our way after that puppet performance.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
When we return, BTV's coverage of March Madness continues, a close matchup for a Division II regional title.
And we have a look at the events coming up around the town. We'll be right back.
There, stop crying. I said stop crying. Stop, I said, or I'll give you something to cry about. Look at you, you're filthy.
Child abuse comes in many forms.
Stay in there till I get back.
Neglect is common. When parents get help, there's hope for children. Prevent child abuse. If you or someone you know needs help, visit helpandhope.org.
Mommy's really, really sorry.
Hi, I'm the bus driver. Listen, I've got to leave for a little while. So can you watch things for me until I get back? Yes! Thanks. Oh, and remember, don't let the pigeon drive the bus.
Oh, I thought he'd never leave. Hey, can I drive the bus?
No! My cousin Herb drives the bus almost every day. True story. So, can I drive the bus? No! I never get to do anything. Hey, I've got an idea. Let's play drive the bus. I'll go first. I bet your mom would let me.
How about I give you $5?
Let me drive the bus.
Uh-oh.
I'm back. You didn't let the pigeon drive the bus, did you? Great. Thanks a lot. Bye. Hey, can I drive the truck? No. Reading helps you solve problems. Eureka!
Reading helps you learn new words.
Reading builds your imagination. Poof! Hey, you're not a genie, you're a pigeon. I bet you wish I could drive the bus. No, pigeon, no! Reading together builds friendships. If you know how to write your first and last name, you can get a library card. Even a pigeon can do it. Animal abuse could be happening anywhere or anytime. There are many signs of animal abuse, and here are a few of them.
The animal may look weak or have ribs showing.
Their tail may be tucked underneath them. if they're chained outside in poor weather conditions.
If you see these signs, call or talk to someone who can help.
There are many ways to correctly treat animals.
Give them a clean home. A dirty home could hurt the animal. You also need to feed them breakfast and dinner.
You should also take them to the vet regularly to make sure they're healthy. If not, please give them medicine and extra love.
You should take them for walks and play with them often to keep them active. Make sure to change their water and keep it clean.
Remember that animals are helpless and rely on humans.
Be sure to take your animal to the groomer to make sure that their fur is healthy.
Thank you for loving animals everywhere.
That's Jenny, but that's not Jenny's dad. If she gets into that car, that may be the last time you'll see Jenny. I'm McGruff, the crime dog. See those kids? Every day in this country, 60 kids disappear. Some run away, but a lot are kidnapped by strangers, or even by people they know. So write to McGruff and teach your kids to protect themselves. Help take a bite out of crime.
In sports, this time of the year means MLB opening day is here, and winter sports are heading into their tournaments. This is typically the month the sports department spans out, and BTV took the trek down 95 over the GW, Tappan Brooklyn, Sunbridge, and went to Philadelphia to cover the 2018 men's and women's CACC tournament. Over 15 crew members showed the professional product that is accustomed to a BTV event. The Jefferson Rams men's team, coached by Naismith Basketball Hall of Famer Herb McGee, won another conference championship, solidifying their spot in the NCAA tournament. While in the women's tournament, the crosstown rival of the Rams, the U Sciences Devils, took home the women's title. Just 4 days later, the teams entered the NCAA tournament, and BTV broadcast the D2 East Women's Regionals that featured great action, including two coaches with a combined 1,800-plus wins, and Jefferson's Tom Shirley and Bentley College's Barbara Stevens, also a Bridgewater State alum, by the way. They faced off, but inside Stonehill College on Monday night, a trip to the Elite Eight was on the line. The aforementioned Sciences took on the hometown Skyhawks of Stonehill in a loud night culminating in a competitive tournament.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Merker Gymnasium on the campus of Stonehill College here in northeastern Massachusetts for the NCAA Division II East Regional Championship, featuring the top seed, the Stonehill College Skyhawks, against the number 3 seed, the Devils of the University of the Sciences.
With the students back on campus here at Stonehill College, this place is going to get very, very loud.
Thomas spins inside against Carter, who swats the shot away. There's Jen Warden in the game for Stonehill, the freshman guard. Nice feed up court for Kelly Martin for 2. What a sweet feed from Warden. Courtney Walsh picks up the dribble. Now Martin behind a screen, pops for 3 and bottoms it out. High slip goes down. Martin flings it out to Carter. Clean look for 3 for Carter, and she drills it. Ball swings to the wing. Open 3 for Thomas is good. Excellent ball movement again by Sciences. As it inevitably does, the ball ends up in Abenizio's hands to the basket against Walsh, and she scores again. So hard to defend. Abenizio has 17, and it's a 6-point game. Abenizio on the handoff, pulls up for a long 2, and splashes it home. Make it 19 for Abenizio, and a 12-5 Devils run. Here's Arissa Yee to the basket on Diabate, misses the banker, followed up by Vitelli for 2. Martin skips it to the corner. Walsh open for 3. All net for Courtney Walsh. And Stonehill pushes the lead back to 7. Jen Warden picks Abenizio clean. Ahead of Thomas and lays it in. Talk about bench help. Jen Warden with a couple of baskets. Stonehill has 11 points off the bench, and the lead is 9. Top seed Stonehill wins the East Region.
Turning to news and notes now, and we're beginning with some of the events at the Bridgewater Public Library. On April 3rd, Chris Venture will hold an Essential Oils 101 workshop at 6:30 p.m. You'll learn the basics of essential oils and how they can help your overall health.
A paint party with Blue Anchor Studio will be held at the library on Monday, April 9th at 6:30. Paint, canvases, brushes, and an instructor will be provided for $35 per artist, with a portion going directly to support future programs at the library. Registration and payment is required at the blueanchorstudio.net. There is no age limit.
The Friends of Music Alley is gearing up for another summer of free outdoor concerts. The season starts on Thursday, June 7th and will run through Thursday, September 6th. More information or to support the Alley, visit bridgewatermusicalley.com.
That's all the time we have for this edition of Bridgewater Review.
We hope you join us for our next edition of the program. In the meantime, stay tuned to our website and Facebook page for our Bridgewater Now updates. I'm John Luck.
I'm Mary Evers. Thanks for watching.